So he's talking about Kurtz, and he's talking about Kurtz's possessiveness. He thinks he's God. My intended, my ivory, my station, my river, everything belonged to him. It made me hold my breath in expectation of hearing the wilderness burst into a prodigious peal of laughter that would shake the fixed stars in their places. Everything belonged to him, but that was a trifle. The thing was to know what he belonged to, how many powers of darkness claimed him for their own. That was the reflection that made you creepy all over. And he goes on to say, basically, Kurtz has become a god. And remember, Marlowe's back, when he's telling this story, he's on a boat in the Thames River, just south of London, back in the civilized world. And he's telling his friends, who probably are pretty sympathetic to, or not sympathetic, are probably inclined to believe that imperialism is good. So this is his audience, and he says, you can't understand, and the you is his buddies on this yacht that they're hanging out on, waiting for the tides to turn. You can't understand, how could you, with solid pavement under your feet, surrounded by kind neighbors ready to cheer you or to fall on you, stepping delicately between the butcher and the policeman and the holy terror of scandal and gallows and lunatic asylums, how can you imagine what particular region of the first ages a man's untrammeled feet may take him into by way of solitude, utter solitude without a policeman, by the way of silence, utter silence, where no warning voice of a kind neighbor can be heard whispering of public opinion. These little things make all the great difference. When they are gone, you must fall back upon your own innate strength, upon your own capacity for faithfulness. I think that is, I love that message, and it's throughout the book, that kind of analyzing the question, are we capable of being good human beings for the sake of being good human beings, or do we need civilization and society to keep us in check? And I think what this book is really saying is that, people they have dark hearts, and what keeps us good is the society around us, the people around us, the laws and the policemen and the parents and the teachers and the social pressure and having certain social expectations and the frown from your neighbor, and without those, I don't think most people can do the right thing just for the sake of doing the right thing. I think more often we're motivated by rewards and consequences. And I think Kurtz was this great man. He was so smart, and he had such good intentions, but he fell so far. And if he had remained in society, that never would have happened. And so I think it's kind of a warning to us as human beings that, number one, don't judge. If you hear about atrocities occurring somewhere else in the world, and don't assume that those people are so different from you or your neighbors. They're just in a different circumstance. If you were hungry, if you were facing situations that we just can't comprehend here in America, you'd act a lot differently too, and your behavior could be really scary and immoral too, and that we are so much a product of our environment, and we can't understand. So I think that's the most interesting thing to think about with this book is, what would I do if I could be God? If that opportunity were in front of me, and would I be able to resist that temptation? I don't know. I mean, think of the payoff. You could have whatever you wanted. You're in control. Thousands of people will bow down to you. Do you have the inner strength to walk away from that? The imperialists who go there and they can make bazillions of dollars and do whatever they want to the people and have them work for them. Can they resist the temptation? They didn't. And throughout history, We've seen people not be able to resist the temptation, and then we look back on it and we say, oh, they were crazy. They weren't crazy. They're human. That's what human beings do. They do bad things when they can get away with it. So, kind of a pessimistic view on humanity, but sorry, I generally think it's pretty true. I think people can be very scary when given the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what they were like. I took Mr. Muir's psychology class. We were talking about the Milgram experiment and how like the people that were Nazis weren't necessarily bad people. You were just, there was an authority figure there, and if you didn't, something bad was going to happen to you, and you're almost like you didn't even really think about what you were doing. You were just doing it so that you didn't get something inflicted on you.
Yep. Yeah.
So I definitely agree.
But there were still some people that did enjoy it.
Yeah, there were people that did enjoy like doing horrible things, but I would say for the general consensus, and there were obviously people who didn't want to be part of the Nazis, so they didn't join up, but there were people that were just like, they didn't want to, but they did so that nothing would happen to them or their family.
Yeah.
And when there's a reward, often monetary reward, it's amazing what people are willing to do for it. And in this situation, the Belgians were making just millions of dollars. I mean, they were just making so much money. What's the easiest way to get someone to work for you? Make the most profit? Well, it's not by asking them nicely to do it for free. So they saw an opportunity and they took it, and they could get away with it, and keep it secret enough that there isn't the public outcry, and they made their money, and people still do that today. I mean, when we hear about the criminals on Wall Street, they're taking advantage and they're hurting people for their own financial gain, and they can get away with it. And this is physical brutality, but I don't think that there's a big difference as far as the thinking in someone's head when they're willing to sacrifice another person in order to make money. Any other questions?
I think that's it for me.
Do you guys like the book?
I think I would have liked it a lot more if it was in simpler English. Because I'm not a huge fan of reading to begin with, so I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable had it been in a little more plain English. But
Interestingly, Conrad, English was not his first language, so I think his language is rather formal, and part of that, I would guess, is a result of learning English later in life. But yeah, the sentences are complex, and it takes a lot of reads. I've read this, I don't know how many times, 20, 30, a lot, well, probably 30. And every time I read it, I see something new. It's definitely a book with many layers. I don't think an easy read would do justice to the complexity of the ideas and what he's saying about humanity.
Yeah.
Is that like the complexity kind of matches up with the complexity of the ideas he's presenting?
yeah.
But maybe you'll get to read it again in college. I read it in high school and then again in college, and it meant more to me in college. Any other question?
No.
No?
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.